Okay, so speaking of locker rooms, God, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, so I apologize. So when you fought Kimbo in that locker room, what exactly happened? In regards to getting cut and stuff like that. Like I've heard you do like some interviews.
Oh, you mean when I got cut the first time I fought him?
Yes.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there's
some rumors about it.
Well, that's fine. I mean, no matter what happens, you're always gonna have rumors. But there was some things that were going on personally at home.
Okay.
My father had gone into the hospital. He was on life support, and they told me he wasn't gonna make it. And then I was deciding, well. Do I fight or don't fight? He says, well, and they said, listen, he's fine. He's not going to pass away, right? He is on life support, but he's not. We've got him stabilized. And I was like, so there's nothing that I could really do anyways if I was there. And so I said, okay, we'll fight. So I remember going in because my mind was so clogged. Like I had all this stuff going on. And I remember going with my buddy Dan Freeman, and we pushed all the furniture out of the way, and there was some floor in there, and I was working on the choke that I was going to get him in, because I knew every time he would get him to the ground, he'd roll his belly, and he'd throw in hooks and choke him. So I was working on that, just as I did the last time I fought him. And so we get in there, I was working on it, and as I was down there, I was throwing in the choke, and Dan had his head down, and I actually went on top, threw my hooks in, I put the choke in there, and I went to kind of choke him, and he kind of wanted to explode up and give me a little extra work. And his head popped up, like, whoosh, bam, hit me in there, and I thought nothing of it. I thought, oh, no big deal. All of a sudden, I see a blood trickle come out, boom.
Oh.
And I was like, oh. And I'm reaching up, and there's blood on there, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I go in the mirror, and I have a gash in my forehead, right underneath my eye, where he had actually popped his head up, hit the tip of the bone, and it just cut it.
Did you ever think about gluing it and keeping your mouth shut?
I tried to do that, but... this is what went through my mind. If I glued that shut and he had actually got into a clinch or anything was to happen and it opened up,
there'd be a loss.
I'd lose.
So you let the commission know.
I had to.
Man, that must have been nuts.
It was hard for me to do but at the same time, I didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
I did not want to lose on a technicality because it opened up, because it was deep. It was deep.
Well, I saw pictures of it. It was ugly. It was ugly.
It was double stitched, and
it pretty much ended the organization.
What's that?
The organization pretty much.
What was it? It was not Strike Force.
No, it was like Elite.
Elite.
Yes. That was it for them. Yeah, he couldn't get any more money out of the investors after that.
Well, and what really made me angry, and a lot of things work out. You just don't see it coming, and I think this is why there was rumors there.
Well, the rumor was that there was such a pay discrepancy.
Yes.
You tried to hold him hostage.
That's not true. That's such a lie. What had happened is they had guaranteed me.
Dana was involved.
No.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
They guaranteed me I would be the highest paid. Nobody would be on that card that would get paid more than me. Well, what they did was they ended up putting, because the one in Vegas, the show in Vegas got canceled with Roy Nelson and I forget his name, Italian kid, his vampire.
Andrei Arlovsky?
Yes.
Okay, he's
Andrei Arlovsky. Those two were supposed to fight.
Bulgarian.
They couldn't sell the fight out in Vegas, so it got canceled. So they put him on my card in a semi-main event. And they were making more money than me. And I said, I said, I did this because you guys said you couldn't pay me enough money, and I did this only if I was the highest paid guy on this card. And now you're telling me you got somebody on the card that I'm fighting on that's getting paid more than me?
That's insulting.
I was like, no, that's not happening.
It's insulting.
Right. Along with my father, finding out after we had this conversation, I find out it wasn't more 10, 15 minutes after I get done with this conversation, I find out my dad, he slips into this.
Man, you had an awful,
it was a bad day.
Bad week.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the fight. I'm going to go do this. And that happens. And I mean, literally, everything's going through my mind. I got to fight. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then when I decided, hey, I got to tell him. And I told them, even when I went and got it stitched up, I said, I can fight. Because I wasn't going to do it with the glue, right? Because I knew it would open up.
If you could do glue and stitch.
But I stitched it. I had him double stitch. I told the doc, I said, stitch it up so I can go into the commission and say I can fight. That it'll stay. If I don't get hit really hard, it'll stay. So he stitched it up pretty well. And I went in, I told him, and I told them I would fight. This is what they don't tell you. I told them I would fight.
And if you really think about it, if you're going to get hit really hard in that spot, it's gonna open up anyway.
Exactly. And I'd have been okay with that. I just wasn't okay
because
with
because
Super
it
Bowl.
would have been open up anyway.
Right. So
did you get your show money?
I don't think I even got paid.
That's
no.
why I think technically, as long as you step on that scale.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have done that.
That's not who you are.
But what pissed me off was that they don't tell people that I told them and the commission. I told them, and those guys followed me there, and I told them, I said, I'll fight, guys. Just to let you know, this isn't something that you guys are trying to put all this conspiracy. I'll fight. They didn't tell anybody that. I went to the commission, and they were with me, and they said, we'll let them fight. I said, I'll fight. Commission said no.
All right. The questions that we're asking you, they're not your normal questions. Am I correct?
No.
These are like deep dive, friggin' dorky questions.
We're nerds.
Okay.
No, but
so
these are
for
good
me
questions.
to ask you if that was a work or not,
Right.
tells you if I couldn't figure it out just based on my research, there's a problem there.
Right.
So I appreciate you clearing that
Well,
up.
and it too, and I think it's good. I love these because then I get to really tell what happened. And I, like I said, I went to the commission. I had a double stitch to the doc. I went to the commission and said, I will fight.
Dude, that's fucking nuts.
And
Just
they
think about
and the
that.
commission said no.
That's amazing.